91.3 RSU Radio's Native Air. Good morning. Welcome back to the show. And our guest on the program this morning is Otoe-Missouria Elder Marvin Diamond. And we're glad to have him back in here with us today. And we greeted earlier. How are you doing these days, Marvin?
I've been doing pretty good now.
All right. Now, the last time you were in here, about 6 months ago, when we asked you to come up and talk with our classes, what have you been up to for the last 6 months?
Well, after I retired, I've been working on church instruments, feathers, feather work, making rattles, gourds, drumsticks, whatever to occupy my spare time. I had to find something to do after I retired, and I got into this, and I've been into it like over 12, 13 years, and I'm still learning to make these instruments. I learn every time I put one together, I learn a little bit more, make it a little bit more easier to work with, and I give encouragement to a lot of young people in our church. I give them fans, gourd that I make.
Let me ask you this, since you brought up the gourds, tell me what makes a good gourd rattle. How do you know you got a good gourd?
Well, the main thing is the shell. There's different thicknesses of these gourd shells, and the wood. They usually use hard, solid wood like ebony or some kind of a real bodock or something hard. That's got a lot to do with the sound.
For the handle, you mean?
Yeah, for the handle, and a lot of them put beadwork on them and different ways. But the old way, they only had the gourd shell on there, and sometimes they tied feathers on the end where the tassel goes. And but now, the modern time here, they beadwork them up, make them look pretty. And,
how about the pebbles that go inside? What kind of pebbles do you choose for that sort of thing?
You try to get the smallest round rocks you could find. A lot of times that has a lot to do with the sound. Sometimes the thick shells, if you put little beads in it, you can't hardly hear them. You have to get bigger rocks. It depends on the thickness of the shell and the size of rock that you put in them in order to make the sound. You know, a lot of people are after sound. It used to be after pretty works and all that, but you get to be my age where you only look for a good sound.
Now, you mentioned your age. Tell us a little bit about how old you are, how young you are.
I'll be 79 next birthday, and I'm still considered a young elder. Still get around pretty good. Still attend my Native American church meetings. In fact, I think I'm heading for Arizona next Friday to participate in a birthday meeting for a little 1-year-old boy. And we're going to make a trip out there, me and my nephew Randy Moore and nephew Pat Moore, and do what they ask of him. So that's where we'll be going next Friday.
Now, you mentioned that you're a young elder. Tell us just a little bit, for those folks who maybe haven't heard you talk before, a little bit about your childhood.
I was raised up way down Pawnee County, next to the, I think of the Arkansas River. My dad had some allotted land there, my grandpa, and I wasn't born in the hospital. Back in my day when I was born, a lot of our people my age were born at home instead of in the hospital, and we were raised up to mainly learn survival from our elders. Back then it was during the Depression. Everything was rationed, war going on, and food was hard to get. We were fortunate that we had a lot of wild turkeys and wild hogs running on our land, and we knew where all the plum bushes was, the grape bush, pecans, walnuts, And we also done a lot of hunting for rabbits, squirrels, or whatever, and a lot of fishing holes. We knew where the best ones was, and we grew up that way, walking 2 or 3 miles to the school, walking home in the evening, and different things like that, you know. And it's a lot different today, you know. We got all these McDonald's and everything so convenient, you know. And nowadays we learned the hard way, you know, that food was hard to get, and you didn't waste food and everything, and you had a lot of respect for it, and we always learned to thank the Creator for what we had. And a lot of time we were raised, I'm glad I was raised that way. I wasn't, you know, I don't know how I'd have been if I'd have been born with a rich family, you know. I might not even be living today, you know. So, but anyway, I'm satisfied the way I was raised up, to be satisfied with what you got, and depend upon the Creator to make a way for you in your life, and He has done that for me, and I'm satisfied with it. And like I said, I don't think I'm really considered that old, but I'm beginning to accept it. The people call me an elder, so I'm beginning to go along with it. I hate to see birthdays coming anymore, but that's just the way life is, you know. A man is born to die, and a lot of people don't like to talk about death, but you know, I heard an old man say this: man is born to die. To make a long story short, you know. So after you live as long as I have, you figured you've lived your life, and maybe you have earned a place in what we call the happy hunting ground. Heaven, God prepared it for us for all the good deeds we've done for people and things of that nature. That's what I picked up along the way, you know. So I'm glad I could be here with Dr. Foley this morning and relate some of this. After I got old enough, I joined the Marine Corps. I got out, I had an alcohol problem, and I drank very hard for about 26 years, and I became addicted to alcoholism. It got to the point where I had to drink it every day in order to find a peace of mind. I've become total dependent on it through the years, you know. And it took me down the line in jails, different kind. All our family disowned me. My tribe, I felt like an outcast, destroyed everything around me, and at the same time it destroyed me. My health, my way of thinking, all my vital organs that I need to survive. And after I was placed in the hospital, the doctors told my mother that there was nothing else they could do due to cirrhosis of the liver. And it was a miracle that I survived through that. And that was like in 1974. And after I got out of the hospital there, I didn't need no counseling. I didn't need nobody to preach to me about sobriety. I've had all I wanted to know about alcoholism, what it'll do to you, and everything around you, your family, your tribe, all your friends and relatives. So that's what happened, you know. And I started recovery. And I've been sober now like 37, 38 years. And I went along with, I asked my higher power to make a way for me in life. So he led me to the chemical dependency field. And I started working there in like 1975, and I worked there about 23 years, learning, teaching people how to stay sober. I've learned a lot from people's behaviors, what caused their relapses and everything. This is an ongoing, progressing disease. The American Medical Association named it that, and that's exactly what it is. It never gets any better. It only gets worse. Every time you take a drink of alcohol, it circulates through all your vital organs, such as your brain, your liver, your kidneys, and everything that it takes for your body to stay balanced out where you could be all right. And every time you take a drink of alcohol, it goes through there. So what it does is slowly but gradually destroys you and your way of thinking, and after a while it becomes a daily thing, which is called addiction. And there's no cure for it, but you can keep it under control through a program. And I encourage all these young people to be aware of these problems of alcohol, drugs. A lot of young people got into sniffing different kinds of spray paints or different kinds of stuff, and they really destroyed their brain and everything. Some of them become handicapped, can't think good, all of that, you know. So I've learned a lot in the days I retired through working with people. And seemed like ever since I started my recovery, I've been working with people ever since.
Would you talk about some of the specific issues that come up with working with substance abuse in Indian country with Native Americans? Is there a difference, and are there different causes and ways of treatment?
Well, awareness. A lot of the parents or grandparents, some of them are raising these young children, and then they're not aware of alcohol, or they don't know what it does for you. Everything is, the main thing is a lot of our tribal programs are getting a substance abuse program. But again, a human being hate to admit, you know, and they stay in denial for years, you know. And a lot of them, I heard them say this, you know, I'm not going to call myself an alcoholic, but I might call myself the town drunk. It's the same thing, but nobody wants to admit to being an alcoholic. So that's one of the problems, is denial. And the grandparents or parents never really look at the problem serious. What they do is enable these people to go on for years. If they get in jail or something, they go and pay their fine, get them out, and say, well, don't do that no more, or I'm not going to bail you out anymore, and stuff like that. But same thing happened time and time again, and as it grows, as it gets worse and worse, and pretty soon all your relatives become aware of it. They hate to see you coming, you know, they know you want something or like that, and they don't like to be around you, you know. So that's mainly the programs that are set up for treatment. A lot of people hate to even be seen going around there because it kind of makes a half a commitment of being an alcoholic. And so that denial is one of the main things in enabling. And a lot of times, a lot of our young people can't keep jobs, you know. They get fired, just like a lot of these gaming casinos and stuff like that. They do a background check on you. A lot of them, after 30, about 90 days, to get the report back on you from state and say, well, you got a DUI. And they have to let you go. And a lot of the parents come to you and get on you and say, hey, you know, my child's tribe here, and you people are supposed to hire our people. Then you fired my son or daughter, and like that. But they don't understand that. Did you know your son or daughter had a DUI? You know, they don't know that thing. So that's what we run into. A lot of them lose their jobs on account of that. And
so what's the, we're talking with Marvin Diamond, Otoe-Missouria elder, now retired, but longtime drug and alcohol counselor. You worked in Shawnee, and also was tribal counselor, or were you on the, is it called the council or business committee at Otoe? Which one do they call it?
What's that?
Is it the business committee or tribal council at Otoe-Missouria?
That's tribal council.
Tribal council,
Yeah.
so you served on that.
Well, yeah.
And then a well-respected elder within the Native American church world. And so we're happy to have him here this morning, and we're talking about some of the issues in Indian country that don't get discussed widely in the press, and that is substance abuse and alcohol addiction or substance addiction. What starts a person on the road to recovery?
The first thing that a person has to do is admit that they have a drinking problem, that they are an alcoholic. They hate to admit that. Due to, I guess, every human being has pride. They don't want to surrender to anything, you know. So that's one of the main things is you have to make a commitment. And before you ever start recovery, you have to have a higher power in order to even start your recovery. So that's what I done. I accepted the Creator as my higher power, and I used the Native American Church as my support group. They were very helpful, and they welcomed me, and they made me feel like a person again. And through the years, I began to grow. I began to change my way of living and the way I think, and everything about my character defects that I had, you know, began to turn them around and do something positive. I got in the helping field of chemical dependency. I helped a lot of people, you know, and for 23 years, you know, and I developed treatment programs, what it takes for a person to start a program of sobriety, and all kinds of things I learned from behaviors, what causes relapse. A lot of them say I believe in the higher power, but I don't communicate with him every day, so they haven't started recovery. You know, they just maybe going to AA meetings and stuff like that, but they still haven't accepted higher power. So mainly, before you ever start recovery, you have to have a higher power.
And then communicate with that higher power
Right.
through prayer.
It becomes almost a daily thing, you know. And that's what happened in my life. I began to be thankful for every day, you know. When you see the sun come up in the morning, I'm thankful. And every evening before I turn in for the day, I offer a prayer, giving thanks for another day of sobriety. And just take it one day at a time, you know. And find you out, develop you a program and keep it simple. Don't have too many activities going on in your recovery. You know, keep it simple, and that way you won't put too much confusion in your life. You know, too much running and doing this in a hurry and all that. Keep it simple. Take your time, one day at a time. You know. And that's what I done, accepted my higher power, my support group, and I got into the field, and I learned to give public lectures. I've done many of them in my life, you know, and I've seen a lot of people sober up, you know, and I've seen a lot of people get back with their families, go to work, have their own residence, their homes, start educating their children. That's reward that I get out of it. You know?
Well, let me ask you this. We're right toward the end of our program here, so if I may, I'd like to ask you for some encouraging words to Native people out there, maybe young people or maybe an adult who's been away from their tribal tradition, or maybe they don't know anything about it, and talk a little bit about that identity aspect of American Indianness and why that's important and why you can always work on getting it back if you don't have it.
Okay, substance abuse causes you to lose identity, and you're excluded from all your tribal customs and ceremonies and stuff, you know, and so you lose all of that, and then you lose respect for yourself. So whenever you get into recovery, these are very important to you to learn the tribal traditions and all the way they do things, different types of ceremonies, different types of way they do things. You know, the tribe. You know, that's one of the main things. You lose all of that, and in order to recapture the identity of our young children nowadays, there's different kinds of culture out there, and they get involved in it. They lose their identity as Indian people. They want to be like somebody else, you know. So that's one of the main things I try to tell our young people, you know. Remember who you are. Remember your elders. Remember where you come from. Remember your background of your family, your customs, your beliefs, the way your family priorities and values in one's life. It'll help you down the way as you get older. As I was growing up, I didn't think anything about our tribal ways of doing things. I just went from day to day taking things for granted, you know. But now, as I got to my age, I wish I'd have paid more attention to the way they've done things. And today, all I can encourage young people is to do not lose your identity. Stay in contact with your tribal ways, if possible, your language, your customs and beliefs, family values, all the things that need to help you in your life, you know. So that's my encouragement to these young people, to pay attention to your elders. If you're curious, ask them. Ask them about questions, or go to somebody elder in your tribe that knows a little bit more about these things, and ask them for some advice or whatever. How do you do this, or when do you do this, or to that nature, you know. And a lot of our older people, they have these kind of values that like that. You know, I wish I'd have paid more attention myself, you know. But what little I learned through my Native American church and my people, the way they do things at funerals or different things, at powwows, or the different kinds of organizations that they have, you know. And I worked as a tribal councilman, and a lot of times nowadays our tribal council is getting more educated young people in with good minds, good education to begin to grow. My people there, they've come a long ways in the last few years. When I was growing up, we stayed in the same rut for years and years, never had anything. But here in the last 10 years, we began to have new buildings, new programs. We got about 4 casinos. We have assistant programs for our elders, all the tribal members. We get a per capita payment, and all kinds of programs to help our people. I'm glad to be here today. Dr. Foley asked me to come help him, and I'm always glad to help him. And what I think he's doing is good for our Indian people, you know. And
thank you.
And I agree with the things that he's learned through our Indian ways. You know, he knows more about Indians than I do.
Oh, it's not true.
So with that, you know, thank him again for this day. You know.
Thank you, Brother Marvin. Marvin Diamond, Otoe-Missouria elder. I'm always glad to have him back here in the studio, and kind of take advantage of his kindness when he comes over, because he'll be on our Native American Studies television class. Well, when you're hearing this on Sunday morning, that will have been Friday. But you can hear a presentation from him on YouTube by just entering Marvin Diamond into the YouTube search, and you'll get to a video that we worked on together about the Native American church and the instruments that he makes for that church, as well as some things about it. So if you'd like to hear more from him, you can do that. We're going to wrap it up here. Ine, ho, nakachi, hey, they say down Sac and Fox Way. That's it. We'll look forward to talking to you again next Sunday morning at 10 o'clock on 91.3 RSU Radio's Native Air. Mado.
Hey, yeah. How long was that one?
25. Yeah, that was a good one.